Hi guys, in this video I'm going to share with you 10 things every new social worker should know before starting to practice social work. Alright, let's get right into it. So the first thing I would say is you need to be aware of the basic services that clients tend to access. In my experience of practicing social work, there are certain services that are almost inevitable that your clients would be accessing currently or would have accessed in the past, and those would be homeless services and financial aid services. So if you're in Australia, then that would be Centrelink and Department of Housing. I'm not sure what the names are in other countries, but just knowing, you need to be aware of what the system is like with housing and with financial aid, because those are like things that your clients tend to present with a lot, and you would have to do a lot of advocacy around those two systems. So definitely encourage that you know as much as you can about those two services. The second thing I would say is nothing is ever black and white. It's really important to be aware of this. I think in uni we're given the theoretical aspect of things, and hence things can tend to seem like, everything is just as it seems, and however a client is presenting with is whatever they're presenting with. But I think it's important to realize that nothing is black and white. You need to be able to bend the rules a little bit and try and put something where it wasn't before, and try and change things around a little bit in order to make things work. Every client's presentation is unique. Even though clients may be presenting with similar issues, every client needs to be recognized as unique, and things are not as black and white as they may appear on paper or as a client might present to you. So you always need to be a bit of a critical thinker, and you need to be able to be willing to bend the rules a little bit every now and again in order to meet the needs of clients. My third point is every new social worker needs to know how to find work. A lot of new social workers don't have the experience that most social work roles might ask for, and therefore it's important to be aware of how to apply for jobs, what kind of things you need to put on your resume and things like that in order to get a job. So I definitely encourage you to check my previous video. I'll link that in the description box and at the end of the video if you're interested. Very, very important. My next point will be, it's important to recognize that you do hold a very powerful role, and it's important to utilize that role wisely and ensure that there are not too much imbalance between the power of you over the client. A social worker's word goes a long way. Social workers in hospital, for example, they give the okay for clients to be discharged from the hospital because maybe they've finished linking them into services and things like that. Also, social workers in my role, when clients have disclosed domestic violence and they haven't made any reports to any government organizations, if I do a letter with my signature underneath saying that this client has disclosed domestic violence, she would be eligible for domestic violence services. So that is a lot of power to hold, and it's important to be aware of it just so you're not abusing it in any way without even recognizing. My next point is listening goes a long way. Sometimes we feel the need to talk a little bit more, but it's really important to recognize the power of being able to just listen and just be quiet and just pay attention to whatever the client is saying. That is a very important part of the communication process and the report building process, and even the trust that the client starts to build with you. So just recognize, especially when you feel pressured to say something, just know that just listening and just being there for the client, it's usually really important, and it usually does go a long way. Another important point is to try and remain non-judgmental regardless of the situation you're being presented with. Sometimes we might have had experiences that might be similar to ones that clients are presenting with. It's really important to recognize that the way you respond to a situation will be completely different to the way someone else responds to a particular situation. So try and stay clear of being judgmental, because it can interfere in the support that you're able to provide to clients. And I think, we're all human. Sometimes some judgments might come up. If they do, the important thing is to be aware of them and to be able to debrief with your supervisor or whoever is available about it. it. And that's the most important thing. It's just being aware that, oh my God, I was actually judging this client. It's not so much they're not judging at all, because obviously being human, that can be difficult to do. And another reason why remaining non-judgmental is really important is sometimes we might have very strong opinions about how people should behave and how people shouldn't do certain things and people shouldn't say certain things or people shouldn't treat people certain ways. But a lot of the times when clients are presenting with certain issues, it's not because they've made a choice to behave a certain way. A lot of the time there's a lot of underlying issues that need to be looked at, and that's why they may be presenting with whatever they're presenting with. And that's why it's very important to stay clear of judgment, and that way you're able to assess and get in there and understand the nitty-gritty of what has actually been the background of the client and why they're presenting the way they are. Another point I would like to make is the value and the importance of self-care. Social work is a very draining, difficult job. Self-care needs to be a priority. You need to have at least one thing that you do once a week that helps you de-stress and helps you clear your mind. And even during the day whilst at work, it's very important to have regular breaks and things like that. I do have videos talking about self-care as well, which I will link in the description box below if you're interested. One other really important point is to be aware that you can't fix everything. You can't fix everyone and everything, and that's okay. It's really important, because most social workers do have values around wanting to help people and fighting for social justice and things like that. It can be easy to become caught up in wanting to change a particular client situation or wanting to fix a situation that they might be presenting with, and it's always important to be aware of what your responsibilities are and staying within that and recognizing that it's okay if you're not able to fix certain things, so long as you're supporting the client so they're able to manage on an ongoing basis. That's the most important thing. The last 2 points that I would like to touch on is self-awareness and personal development. Self-awareness is really important. If you've already done uni, you may know a thing or two about reflective practice, and it's really important to recognize what you're doing good at, what you're not doing so good at, what you need to be aware of, what you might need to improve, what you might need to work on, things like that. It's really important to be able to be aware of the work that you do and be able to reflect actively. And obviously when I spoke earlier on about making judgments and things like that, I said it's really important to be aware of the judgments that you might be making about clients, and being aware of when you're getting burnt out and when you need to take a holiday, being aware of when you're becoming overly involved in clients. Sometimes you can build relationships with clients, and certain clients you might have certain connections with, and because of that you want to bend over backwards to support them. So it's really important to be aware of all of that, and that way you're able to care for yourself and you're not overstretching yourself to support anyone, but at the same time you are growing as a social worker. So self-awareness is really important, and that ties into my final point, which is personal development. Personal development I've found really beneficial in my role as a social worker, because I think in order for you to support anyone, you need to be at a certain space yourself, mentally and emotionally and physically and everything. And I think personal development is the best way to cover all those aspects, and that way you're in a good position to continue to support clients. Because how do you support someone when you're constantly struggling yourself? And not to say that all social workers should have zero problems, but they should be in a place where their problems are well managed, or at least they're aware of them, and that way they can be able to provide the best support possible. So obviously personal development can be done through books and videos and things like that, podcasts, things like that. So yeah, those were my 10 points that every social worker needs to know before they start practicing social work. Is there anything else that I missed out on adding? Is there anything that you guys are aware of that I forgot to share? Definitely leave it in the comment section below, and please give this video a thumbs up if you found it beneficial. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in my next video. Bye.